Going with glasses today?
Yep.
All right.
Let's do it. And welcome to today's Rowdy.com Big Three, sitting beside my friend and colleague. Hi.
Hi.
Jerome Buzz Cutler. I'm Bass Masters. We're talking NASCAR racing. We're talking 2 races left in the chase. And we're talking Phoenix, the Cobalt Tools 500-kilometer race in the desert.
Yes. They don't say kilometer in the name of the race. It's inferred.
It's inferred. But we got to ask about keys to this racetrack. And I think for me, it's clearly the handling compromise, the 2 different ends of the racetrack. 1 and 2 being a tighter turn, a little more banking, 3 and 4 being more of a long sweeping corner, 3 and 4 being the loose end of the track, 1 and 2 being the tight end of the track. And how can you get your car working in both ends? It's pretty tough to manage that.
Yeah, and you know, instinctually, I would say you want to get it good off of 3 and 4 because that's going to bring you home. That's going to bring you to the start-finish line. But then, of course, you're living with a really tight condition at 1 and 2.
You'll hear a lot of complaining about a push-off too, definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know. And Kevin Harvick says maybe you don't have to give up on either end of the track.
You know, you can be good on both ends, and I guess it's all relative to how well everybody else is doing it in a certain spot. So I don't think we're ever satisfied. It's a unique racetrack because it's, you know, that you got 3 and 4 with a long sweeping corner that you lose a lot of grip and the cars become really loose up off the corner, and getting the car to turn in the middle of the corners really on both ends now.
Yeah, Jeff Burton said the same thing. The best cars will be good at both ends of the racetrack. Of course, it's all relative, but a second key here might be fuel mileage, Cutler, because this race, believe it or not, has come down to fuel mileage several times here at Phoenix.
It has, most notably in the spring. Didn't Ryan Newman win off of fuel mileage?
He did, and you know, Jimmy Johnson has won here on fuel mileage well, and when you think about tracks that Phoenix is similar to,
New Hampshire.
Comes to mind, New Hampshire, and what do we have in New Hampshire?
Fuel mileage.
So I think this is a very interesting question to think about. If you're Jimmy Johnson or you're Denny Hamlin or you're Kevin Harvick, at what point are you willing to take a risk? Say a 50% risk on fuel. Maybe if you're Kevin Harvick, you're a little more willing than a Jimmy Johnson and a Denny Hamlin.
Absolutely. Remember the Hippocratic Oath, Bass. First, do no harm. It's more important that Denny and Jimmy and Kevin don't totally screw the pooch here than that they win. So I don't see any of those guys, with maybe the possible exception of Kevin Harvick, as taking a huge fuel mileage gamble towards the end of this race.
Depending on how the other guys are running, too. I think that's another interesting thing here is this is a race with only 2 races to go, where you don't necessarily only have to just run your own race. You can keep an eye on how Jimmy or Denny is doing if you're Kevin Harvick, or the other 2 if you're Denny Hamlin. So just keep one eye on them, and you might dictate some of the choices you make late in the race.
Or if you're Denny Hamlin and you're running back in the 20s, then obviously you will take a bigger gamble than if you're running up in the top 10. The other thing, and I don't want to get into a third key, but the other thing that I always think about at Phoenix is how you're running right into that hot desert sun, being hypnotized,
yes,
and that does affect you when you're on your commute to work. I know this has happened to you. It happens to me.
It's horrible.
And the sun blinds you. What do? Naturally, instinctively, you slow down. And I'm not saying that these guys are going to do that, but you know it affects them.
It does affect them, and you just got to look somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, like behind
Close your eyes and ask your spotter what to do. Tell me when to turn left. Yeah, the sun can be interesting, and it can be definitely difficult. And the sun actually had an impact on the Jeff Gordon run-in at Texas, so don't say it doesn't matter, right? Who do you like in this race?
You know, it's hard to go against Jimmy Johnson. Not only does he have the record to show that he's the man to beat here, but I think he's got something to prove. He wants to take his lead back. He wants to say, look, my 5th championship is not dead in the water. Denny Hamlin is not necessarily the heir apparent, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jimmy Johnson go out and make this a showdown come Homestead.
If you look at this racetrack, it's not far-fetched to me to say it's been a real key to his chase. I think his chase finishes here, the years he's won the title, have been second, first.
As a matter of fact, we've got video of Jimmy talking about how he likes to use Phoenix to get rid of hope for all the other contenders.
You know, there's been some hope, and it's been great for us to go to Phoenix and just kind of end the hope. You know, only give it like a numerical chance in Homestead. It's been a really good track for us, really since the start of my career. I've always run well there, and I hope again to send that message.
So there you go. Jimmy's a great pick. You know, Denny Hamlin made an interesting point too, Cutler. He said, look, I've never won here at Phoenix, but this is my track type because I run well at New Hampshire, I run well at Richmond, and if you look at my last 3 short track races, or big short track races, which would be Richmond, New Hampshire, and Martinsville, I've got 2 wins and a second.
It's been a very up and down racetrack for us, you know, in the past, and we really didn't get a sense of where we stood competition-wise because I had the ACL problem immediately that weekend, so I never really got a chance to see how my car was really going to run that weekend. So we don't really know where we stand. All we can kind of go by is our last 3 short track races, mile or less. We've got, you know, 2 wins and a second, dating back to Richmond, Martinsville, and now Loudon, New Hampshire. So that kind of gives us a good indication that we should be good when we go to Phoenix.
So Denny Hamlin wouldn't surprise anybody to see this season's big winner in victory lane here as well.
And Kevin Harvick says, look, I grew up racing on this track and this style of track. This is sort of my home track. So, gosh, I mean,
he's got 2 wins here, too.
That's where I grew up. I started racing, you know, Southwest Tour cars there and have raced Winston West cars and trucks. And I just have so many laps around the place that you know where every crack and crevice is around the whole place. So most of the racetracks that we raced on the West Coast were relatively flat. So I think that that has carried over into my Cup and Nationwide and truck careers.
Though he hasn't been so great of late. So I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson. Are you going with Denny?
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. I think outside the chase, Mark Martin has a very good record here. Tony Stewart, you think about how strong he was in New Hampshire. And I like Clint Boyer, even though he hasn't been stellar here, I like the way that team is pulled together. He's getting Shane Wilson back. Now he feels like he's learned a little something with Scott Miller. Getting Shane Wilson back, how cool would it be to see this guy win 3 races in the chase? I think it would be neat. So Clint Boyer's a guy to keep your eye on here as well.
All right, thanks for watching this pre-race edition of the Rowdy.com Big 3. We'll be back on Monday to wrap everything up. Enjoy the racing this weekend.
Absolutely.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.